Look, I have been working for the Galactic Penal Bureau for 17 cycles now, and I thought I had seen everything. Murderers, smugglers, tax evaders, that one guy who tried to steal a moon, you name it. But nothing. And I mean absolutely nothing. Prepared me for Marcus Webb. My name is Zaxlin, and I am what you might call a professional paper pusher. Middle management. The guy who sits in meetings, nods at appropriate intervals, and signs off on decisions that other people make. It is not glamorous, but it pays the bills and keeps my 3 spawn fed. On the day that changed everything, I was sitting in conference room 7, which smelled faintly of burnt coffee substitute and poor life choices, listening to Senior Administrator Thornek drone on about our latest problem inmate. This human, Thornek announced, his mandibles clicking together in that way that meant he was particularly annoyed, has been nothing but trouble since the moment he arrived. Fighting with guards, organizing protests about the quality of the protein paste, somehow rewiring his cell door to play what he calls smooth jazz every time someone walks by. I glanced down at my datapad. Marcus Webb, human. Age 32 in Earth years. Convicted of unlicensed trading in restricted sectors. Sentence 5 years. Time served 6 months. Incident reports. 47 in 6 months. What do you propose? Asked Council Member Yilnith, her eye stalks swiveling with interest. Thornek's face twisted into what I can only describe as a smile, though on his species it looked more like he was about to bite something. I propose we transfer him to Krev'nash. The room went silent. Even I stopped pretending to take notes. A Class-12 Deathworld, Yilnith breathed. Is not that a bit extreme? Extreme? Thornek practically spat. Do you know what he did yesterday? He organized the entire Block 7 population into a petition for better recreational facilities. Recreational facilities? This is a prison, not a resort. Now, for those of you who do not spend your days cataloging the many horrible places in the galaxy where things can kill you, let me explain what a Class-12 Deathworld actually means. The galactic classification system ranks planets from Class 1, which are basically paradise worlds where you could sleep outside in your undergarments and wake up refreshed, all the way up to Class 15, which are places where reality itself seems to have anger management issues. A Class 12 sits right there in the R. You absolutely sure you want to do this category? On a Class 12 Deathworld, everything, and I do mean everything, is actively trying to end your existence. The atmosphere, probably toxic, or at least really inconvenient. The weather, hurricanes, acid rain, temperature swings that would make a thermometer file for early retirement. The plants? Oh, the plants are adorable, right up until they dissolve your flesh or explode in your face or wrap around your throat while you sleep. And the animals? Let us just say the food chain is less of a chain and more of a free-for-all cage match where everything is armed and nothing plays fair. Krev'nash, specifically, was notorious. It had acid rain on Tuesdays. Actual acid rain. The local fauna included something called a shredder cat, which was exactly as pleasant as it sounded, and the vegetation was mostly carnivorous. The survival rate for trained explorers with full equipment was roughly 34%. For prisoners with basic supplies, 0. Literally 0. No one had ever survived more than 11 days. The human is a Category 2 security risk at most, I felt obligated to point out. Is sending him to certain death not a violation of the Human Sentencing Act of 3447? Thornek waved a dismissive appendage. We are not executing him, Zaxlin. We are simply transferring him to a remote facility where he can contemplate his actions. If he survives, wonderful. If not, well, he was warned about the dangers. We will give him a standard survival kit, a shelter pod and an emergency beacon, completely by the book. By the book, right? By the book if that book was titled How to Legally Murder Someone While Maintaining Plausible Deniability. The vote was unanimous. Even I voted yes, though I am not proud of it. What else was I supposed to do? Thornek was my supervisor. I had spawned to feed. You understand. Excellent, Thornek said, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. Zaxlin, since you seem so concerned about proper procedure, you will serve as the monitoring officer. Document everything. I want daily reports on our human friend's inevitable demise. Consider it a learning opportunity. And that, my friends, is how I became the person responsible for watching Marcus Webb die. Spoiler alert, that is not exactly what happened. The transport ship dumped Marcus Webb on Krev'nash at dawn on a Tuesday. Yes, acid rain Tuesday. The crew did not even land properly, just hovered at 20 meters and released the drop pod like they were disposing of biological waste. I watched the whole thing on monitor 3 in my office, a cup of coffee substitute growing cold in my hand. The pod hit the ground with a thud that should have rattled the human's bones. The door hissed open and out stepped Marcus Webb, looking around like he had just arrived at a hotel and was checking out the view. He had 7 days of rations, a shelter pod that could maybe possibly keep him alive for 72 hours if he was lucky, and an emergency beacon for when, not if, things went catastrophically wrong. I started my report log. Day 1. Subject deployed at 0600 hours. Current weather conditions: humid, temperature 38 degrees, acid precipitation expected within 2 hours. Prediction: subject will activate emergency beacon before nightfall. Marcus stretched, actually stretched, like he was working out a kink in his back, and then started unpacking his gear. The sky was already turning that peculiar yellow-green color that meant the acid rain was coming. I waited for the panic to set in. It did not. Instead, the human calmly deployed his shelter pod, which expanded into a small dome structure, and then he just sat down outside and started eating one of his ration bars while watching the horizon. When the first drops of acid rain started falling, he finally went inside. I noted the time, 14 minutes of exposure before seeking shelter. Either very brave or very stupid. My money was on stupid. Day 2 started with me expecting to file a death report. I logged in, pulled up the monitor feed, and the human was outside again. But this time he was building something. "What in the name of the 3 moons is that?" I muttered, zooming in the camera. That looked like no, it could not be. Was that a water collection system, made from his emergency rations packaging and some local vegetation he had no business touching because it was absolutely toxic? I checked the botanical database. Yes, confirmed toxic. The sap could cause respiratory failure in most species. Marcus was using it as adhesive. I made a note. Subject displays either advanced survival knowledge or complete ignorance of danger. Possibly both. By mid-afternoon he had created a functioning water filtration system that was collecting and purifying the acid rain. The acid rain. He was drinking it by evening. I had to replay the footage 3 times to believe it. Day 3 is when things got weird. I arrived at my office to find Marcus Webb sitting outside his shelter, hand outstretched, while one of Krev'nash's apex predators, a 6-legged creature we had officially designated as Mauler 6, but which looked like someone had crossed a bear with a scorpion, and then added extra teeth, was eating something directly from his palm. "No," I said to my empty office. No. That is a Mauler 6. It should be mauling you. That is literally in the name." But the creature just sat there, making a sound that almost resembled purring, while Marcus scratched behind what I assumed were its ears. He was feeding it bits of his rations, which seemed like a catastrophically bad idea, except the Mauler 6 was not ripping him into bite-sized pieces. So what did I know? I sent a message to Thornick, subject still alive, displaying unusual interaction with local fauna. His response came back in seconds. "Define unusual." "Petting it, sir." There was a long pause. Then continue monitoring. Day 4 made me question my entire understanding of biology, physics, and common sense. Marcus Webb was riding the Mauler 6, riding it like it was some kind of domesticated mount. He had fashioned a crude saddle from his shelter pod's outer covering, which he definitely needed for, shelter, and was cruising around the immediate area like he was on a leisurely trail ride. He had named it. I know he named it because he kept talking to it, and the audio pickups caught him saying, "Good girl, Biscuit. Yes, you are a good girl. Yes, you are. Biscuit." He named an apex predator that could dismember a fully grown Thoraxian warrior in under 15 seconds. Biscuit. I updated my report with shaking hands. Subject has domesticated local megafauna through unknown means. Survival probability revised from 0.3% to I honestly have no idea anymore. Days 5 through 7 were a blur of mounting confusion. By day 5, Marcus had expanded his shelter, built what appeared to be a defensive perimeter using sharpened local timber, which was also poisonous by the way, and had started a garden. A garden, with the toxic plants, except he was doing something to them, some kind of treatment process, and they were not killing him. Day 6 brought the discovery that he had found the geothermal vents near Sector 7 and was using them to heat water. Not just heat it, he had built a soaking pool. The human had constructed a hot tub on a Class-12 Deathworld. By day 7, Thornek was messaging me hourly. Status report. Still alive, sir. How? I genuinely do not know, sir. Yilneth started copying herself on my reports. Then Council Member Frixon. By the end of the week, I had 6 different superiors asking me the same question: why is the human not dead yet? I had no answers, only more questions, and a growing sense that we had made a terrible, terrible miscalculation. Marcus Webb was not just surviving Krev'nash. He was making himself at home. Week 2, Day 3. That is when my entire perception of reality crumbled like a stale protein bar. I was finishing up another baffling report, trying to explain to Thornek how Marcus had apparently trained 3 more Mauler 6 specimens and was using them to plow fields, yes fields, when the emergency beacon activated. My entire console lit up red. Alarms blared. The alarms blared. The emergency beacon was specifically designed for one purpose: to scream, "I am dying. Please extract me immediately," across every communication channel in the sector. Finally, I thought. Finally, the human had reached his limit. I felt a weird mix of relief and disappointment. Relief because this insanity could end. Disappointment because, well, part of me had started rooting for the crazy human. I opened the emergency channel, expecting to hear panicked screaming or labored breathing or at least an urgent plea for medical assistance. Instead, I got a file transfer notification. What? I stared at my screen. The beacon was not transmitting a distress call, it was transmitting a document. A large document, with images. I downloaded it, my confusion mounting with every passing second. The file opened and I found myself staring at the most professionally formatted tourism brochure I had ever seen. The title, in bright, cheerful letters, read Krev'nash Adventure Resort, where danger meets relaxation. I blinked, then I blinked again. Then I checked to make sure I had not accidentally ingested something hallucinogenic. Welcome to Krev'nash, the introduction began, the galaxy's premier destination for thrill seekers and adventure enthusiasts. Tired of boring, safe vacation spots where nothing exciting ever happens, ready to test your limits while enjoying 5-star amenities? Then Krev'nash Adventure Resort is the place for you. There were photos. Professional quality photos. Marcus standing at the edge of what he had labeled Widowmaker Falls, which was actually a cascade of acid runoff that could strip flesh from bone. He was smiling, giving a thumbs up. The activities section made my brain hurt. Acid rain surfing experience, the thrill of riding our specially designed boards down the slopes during our famous Tuesday precipitation events. All safety gear provided. Mold burning sensation is normal and temporary. Volcano boarding, take Biscuit, one of our friendly local guides, up the slopes of Mount Spicy for an unforgettable descent down active lava flows. Protective suits available for rent. Singed eyebrows are a badge of honor. Megafauna wrestling. Test your strength against Krev'nash's magnificent native species. Our trained staff will teach you proper grappling techniques. Medical bay on site. Please sign waiver. Toxic plant foraging tours. Learn which plants will kill you and which ones just taste like they will. Expert-led expeditions twice daily. It got worse, so much worse. The dining section included restaurant recommendations. Restaurant. He had restaurants, plural. The Poison Ivy Cafe, casual dining featuring locally sourced ingredients prepared using traditional human cooking methods. Try our signature dish, Flame Flower Surprise. It only causes mild hallucinations. Daily specials include acid berry wine, which tastes better than it sounds, trust me. Biscuits Bar and Grill, named after our beloved resort mascot. Enjoy grilled spigtail fish, caught fresh from Lake Nope. Open-air seating with spectacular views of the carnivorous forest. Please remain seated at all times for your safety. Hotel ratings. He had hotel ratings. The shelter pod has been extensively renovated and now features 4 private rooms, each with geothermal heating and filtered water access. 3-star accommodations by galactic standards, but 5-star by Deathworld standards. Breakfast included. The cliffside bungalows. Currently under construction. Expected completion in 3 months. Ocean views of the acid sea. Romantic getaway packages available. Honeymoon suite features reinforced walls and emergency exit routes. There was a pricing guide. An actual pricing guide with package deals. Weekend warrior package, 2 nights, 3 days. Includes 1 volcano boarding session, megafauna petting zoo access, and all meals, starting at 500 credits per person. Extreme survivor package. Full week immersion experience. Learn to live off the land, build your own shelter and befriend your own Mauler 6 companion. Participants must sign comprehensive liability waiver, starting at 2,000 credits per person. Honeymoon paradise package. Because nothing says romance like surviving together. Private bungalow. Couples volcano boarding. Sunset viewing from the cliffs of certain doom. Starting at 3,500 credits per couple. Marriage counseling not included but recommended. The brochure concluded with contact information, a map of the resort grounds, which covered approximately 15 square kilometers, and testimonials. The testimonials were from Marcus himself, writing as different characters. Best vacation of my life. Almost died 4 times, would absolutely come again. Definitely a real person and not Marcus. The acid rain surfing exceeded all expectations. Lost a boot but gained a memory. Also not Marcus. Totally legitimate review. I sat there staring at my screen, my mouth hanging open, making a sound like a deflating balloon. My communicator chimed. Thornick. Status report Zaxlin. Has the human finally expired? I could not form words. I forwarded him the brochure. 30 seconds of silence. Then my office. Now emergency council meeting. Bring everyone. I stumbled down the hallway in a daze, the brochure pulled up on my datapad, still not quite believing what I was reading. Other administrators stopped me in the halls. Is it true? Asked Plixnar from accounting. Did the human really make a resort? How did you hear about it already? He posted it on the Galactic Net. It has 47,000 views. Of course he did. Of course Marcus Webb had figured out how to access the Galactic Net from a Class-12 Deathworld using a jerry-rigged emergency beacon. By the time I reached Thornick's office, the entire senior staff was already there, all staring at their datapads with expressions ranging from shock to fury to what I can only describe as existential confusion. Explain, Thornick said, his voice dangerously quiet. Explain to me how a prisoner sentenced to die on a Class-12 Deathworld has created a functioning tourism business in 2 weeks. I looked around the room at all those expectant faces. Sure. I honestly have no idea. None. My reports are accurate. Everything in that brochure, it is all real. He really did build all of that. He really is offering packages. Yilneth raised a shaking appendage. He has inquiries. I checked 3 different species have already submitted booking requests. The room erupted in chaos. This is a hoax. Thornick slammed his appendage on the conference table so hard that Yilneth's coffee substitute sloshed over the rim of her cup. It has to be a hoax. There is no possible way a single human, with basic supplies, could accomplish any of this in 2 weeks. Sir, I ventured carefully. I have been monitoring him constantly. Every single day. I have the footage. Then show me. Thornick jabbed a claw at the main display screen. Show me proof that this is not some elaborate deception. I pulled up my workstation files, my hands trembling slightly as I navigated to the surveillance archives. Where would you like me to start? The beginning. Show me everything. So I did. I showed them everything. We started with day 8, after my last report. The footage showed Marcus covered in mud and what I hoped was mud, constructing an irrigation system using hollowed-out logs from the widow trees. Those trees, by the way, were named that because their sap caused complete neural shutdown in most carbon-based life forms. Marcus was using them as plumbing. Pause, said Council Member Frickson, leaning forward. Is he wearing the sap as some kind of protective coating? I zoomed in. Yes, sir. It appears he discovered that when dried, the sap creates a waterproof barrier. He has been using it as a sealant. But it should be killing him, Frickson sputtered. Should being the operative word, sir. We continued. Day 9 showed Marcus with not one, not two, but 3 different species of predators following him around like domesticated pets. There was Biscuit, of course, the original Mauler 6. But now he had also befriended what we classified as a razorwing, a flying creature with talons that could punch through starship hull plating, and a pack of spikehounds, which were basically ambulatory nightmares with teeth. He had named the razorwing Colonel Fluffington. The spikehounds were the boys. This is not possible, Yelneth whispered. The spikehounds hunt in packs specifically designed to take down prey larger than themselves. They should have torn him apart. He fed them, I explained, pulling up the relevant footage. Caught some spiketail fish from the acid lake, cooked them over the geothermal vents, and just offered them food. They have been following him ever since. Thornick made a strangled sound. Day 10 footage showed the hot spring spa in full operation. Marcus had diverted water from an underground thermal source, created a series of pools using local stone, which was mildly radioactive by the way, and had even built what appeared to be a changing area with towel hooks made from widow tree branches. He was soaking in one of the pools, surrounded by steam, while Biscuit lounged nearby, and Colonel Fluffington perched on a rock formation. The human was drinking something from a carved wooden cup. What is he drinking? Thornick demanded. I consulted my notes. Wine, sir. He made wine from the crimson death berries. The berries that cause immediate organ failure. Those would be the ones, yes, sir. How? I have absolutely no idea, sir. He spent 3 days experimenting with fermentation processes. Most of his early attempts were unsuccessful, but by day 9 he had a working formula. According to his video logs, it tastes like cherry with a hint of cinnamon. The room fell silent as we watched Marcus take another sip, looking perfectly content while soaking in radioactive hot spring water on a planet that was supposed to kill him. We moved on to days 11 through 13. This is where Marcus started producing video content. Hello, galactic viewers. Marcus waved at the camera he had somehow constructed from his emergency beacon components. Welcome to Krev'nash Adventure Resort. Today, I am going to give you a tour of our facilities. The tour was comprehensive and deeply disturbing. This is Mount Spicy. Marcus gestured to the active volcano in the background, which was literally spewing lava. Named because, well, it is pretty spicy up there. Great views though. We offer guided climbing expeditions twice a week, weather permitting, and by weather I mean when the eruptions are light to moderate. Over here we have Lake Nope. He panned the camera across the acid lake which was bubbling ominously. I know what you are thinking, why is it called Lake Nope? Because the first time I saw it, I said nope. But then I realized the fish here are actually pretty tasty once you neutralize the acid content. We do fishing tours on Thursdays. Thornick was making a continuous low growling sound. And these, Marcus pointed to a cave system, are the Snuggle Caves, home to our adorable local bat population. They are a bit nippy, and by nippy I mean they will try to eat your face, but they are actually pretty sweet once you get to know them. We are working on a night tour experience. The flesh-eating bats. He had named the flesh-eating bats' home the Snuggle Caves. The cliffs of Certain Doom offer spectacular sunrise views. Marcus continued cheerfully. Yes, they are called that because people definitely died here before, but we have installed safety railings now. Well, rope railings. They are pretty sturdy though. Council member Brecto, who had been silent until now, spoke up. Is that a gift shop? I zoomed in on the structure. Marcus was walking past. It was indeed a small building with a sign reading gift shop and medical bay. Currently stocked with handcrafted items made from local materials. Marcus was saying, widow tree carvings, razor wing feather jewelry and my personal favorite spike hound tooth necklaces. All proceeds go toward resort improvements. The medical bay is right next door because you know safety first. He has a gift shop, Brechtel said flatly. On a Class-12 Deathworld. He has a gift shop. I nodded, having lost the ability to be surprised anymore. We watched another hour of footage, Marcus giving feeding demonstrations with the predators. Marcus showing off his expanded shelter, which now had separate rooms labeled Guest Suite 1, Guest Suite 2, Honeymoon Suite, and Storage. Marcus conducting what he called a safety orientation video, explaining how to survive acid rain, avoid the more aggressive plant species, and what to do if chased by a Mauler 6, which was apparently do not run. They think it is a game. By the end, Thornick looked like he had aged several cycles. This cannot be real, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Send someone to verify. I want physical confirmation that this is not some kind of elaborate technical manipulation. Sir, Yilneth said quietly. Who exactly are we going to send to a Class-12 Deathworld? I will go. We all turned to look at the speaker. Kixra, a military veteran from the Special Operations Division, stood in the doorway. She was a Krellian, built like a tank with scales like armor plating, and she had survived deployments in 3 separate war zones. You will go? Thornick repeated. Someone needs to verify this information, Kixra said, her voice gravelly and no nonsense. I have survival training, combat experience. If this human has somehow created a resort on Krev'nash, I want to see it with my own eyes. If it is a hoax, I will expose it. Thornick nodded slowly. Very well, prepare a reconnaissance mission. Full hazard gear. Weapons authorized. Report back within 48 hours. Kixra saluted and left. I had a terrible feeling we were about to make things even more complicated. I watched Titala's descent onto Krev'nash from my office monitor with what I can only describe as morbid fascination. She came prepared for war. Full environmental hazard suit, military grade. Plasma rifle on her back. Sidearm on her hip. Enough scanning equipment to outfit a research vessel. She looked like she was about to storm a hostile bunker, not visit a tourism resort. The shuttle touched down in the clearing Marcus had designated as Landing Zone Alpha, which I only knew because he had painted a sign, an actual wooden sign with directions carved into it pointing toward Main Lodge, hot springs, gift shop and something called Biscuit's Barn. Kixra stepped out, weapon drawn, scanning for threats. Marcus Webb walked into view wearing shorts, and a hat that appeared to be woven from some kind of local plant fiber. He was drinking from a hollowed-out fruit that looked suspiciously like the exploding melons that grew near Sector 4, which were called that because they exploded. He waved. Hey there. His voice came through clearly on Kixra's audio feed. Welcome to Krev'nash Adventure Resort. You must be from the Galactic Council. I was hoping someone would stop by. Kixra kept her weapon raised. Stay where you are, human. I am here to conduct an official inspection. Oh sure. Totally understand. Safety first and all that. Marcus took another sip from his exploding fruit drink. Want a tour? I have got so much to show you. Just finished the petting zoo yesterday. Petting zoo, Kixra repeated, her tone suggesting she thought Marcus had suffered some kind of mental break. Yeah, come on. I will show you. What followed was the most surreal 45 minutes of reconnaissance footage I have ever witnessed. Marcus led Kixra, who still had her weapon drawn, through the entire resort property. Biscuit came bounding up like an oversized puppy, all 6 legs galloping, and Marcus scratched her behind the ears while Kixra stood frozen, finger on the trigger. This is Biscuit. She is a sweetheart. Want to pet her? That is a Molar 6. Well, yeah, but she does not like that name. It is kind of mean, do not you think? They walked past the irrigation system, the expanded shelter, the hot springs where 2 other Molar 6 specimens were apparently soaking, because of course they were. Marcus showed off his gardens, now producing actual vegetables from the toxic soil through what he called composting techniques and aggressive optimism. The petting zoo was real. The boys, his pack of spikehounds, were lounging in a fenced area, and Marcus tossed them treats while explaining their individual personalities. That is Rufus, he is the shy one. That is Duke, he is the troublemaker. And that little guy is Peanut, he is the youngest. Peanut, the spikehound, had teeth the size of my hand. Colonel Fluffington swooped down and landed on Marcus's shoulder. Easy, he is friendly. Loves having his feathers preened. Marcus demonstrated by gently smoothing the razor wing's plumage. The creature, which could theoretically disembowel a armored soldier, made a cooing sound. This is not possible, Kixra said, her voice shaking slightly. None of this should be possible. Yeah, I get that a lot. Marcus grinned. Hey, you want some lunch? I made this really great stew from local ingredients. It is mostly not poisonous. Mostly. Well, everything here is at least a little poisonous, but I have worked out the cooking times to neutralize most of the toxins. Want to try? Kixera declined. Firmly. Repeatedly. But she did ask the question I had been dying to know. How did you do any of this? Marcus shrugged, taking another sip from his fruit drink. Trial and error, mostly. And pattern recognition. Like the widow tree sap, tried it on a small patch of skin first, stung like crazy, but did not kill me. Waited a day, tried a bigger patch, still alive, figured out it dried into a useful coating. Same with the berries. Tried tiny amounts, tracked the effects, adjusted the fermentation process, just kept trying stuff until something worked. You could have died. Yeah, but I did not. Marcus said cheerfully. Look, I figured I had two choices. Sit in my pod and wait to die, or try to make this place livable. I picked option 2. Plus I always wanted to run a resort. This seemed like a good opportunity. Kikis was silent for a long moment. Then she activated her comlink. Command. This is Kikis. Verification complete. Report. Thorneck's voice came through. Tense. It is all real, sir. Every single thing in that brochure. The resort is operational. The human has domesticated multiple apex predators. He has functioning infrastructure. I am standing in a gift shop that sells spikehound tooth necklaces. Silence on the other end. Sir? Return immediately for debriefing. Marcus perked up. Oh hey, before you go, can you ask them about business permits? I want to make sure I am operating legally here. Also, I have been getting booking inquiries and I need to know the proper tax filing procedures for interstellar tourism ventures. I want to do this right. Kixera stared at him. You want business permits? Yeah. I mean, this started as a survival thing. But now I am thinking long term. This place has real potential. I just need the proper licensing. I watched Kixera walk back to her shuttle, muttering something in her native language that my translator refused to interpret, but which I suspect was extremely inappropriate. Marcus waved as she took off. Come back soon. Tell your friends. The emergency council session that followed Kixera's report was, without exaggeration, the most chaotic meeting in Galactic Penal Bureau history. We cannot admit this. Thorneck was pacing, his mandibles clicking so fast they sounded like malfunctioning machinery. Do you understand what this means? We sent a prisoner to a Class-12 Deathworld as punishment, and he turned it into a vacation destination. The legal implications alone, the public relations nightmare, the sheer embarrassment. Sir, I said carefully, we have a bigger problem. Everyone turned to look at me. I pulled up my datapad. Marcus Webb has formally submitted an application for early release. He is citing rehabilitation through entrepreneurship, demonstrated community building skills and successful adaptation to challenging environments. He has attached character references from Biscuit, the Boys and Colonel Fluffington. The Predators wrote him references. Sealneth asked weakly. He wrote them, on their behalf. There are paw prints. Thorneck made a sound like a dying engine. Also, I continued, because apparently I hated myself. We have received inquiries from 3 different species about booking stays at Krev'nash Adventure Resort. One is a Thoraxian couple, looking for honeymoon packages. Another is a group of Zenthari adrenaline junkies. The third is a film crew wanting to do a documentary about extreme tourism. Frixon leaned back in his chair. So what do we do? We have to reclassify Krev'nash. Councilmember Brechtel said quietly. If we do not, and someone gets hurt visiting Marcus's resort, we are liable. We knowingly allowed tourism on a Class-12 Deathworld. But if we do reclassify it, Yilneth added, we are admitting that a human prisoner successfully colonized and civilized a Deathworld in under 3 weeks. The room fell into defeated silence. My communicator chimed. Another message from Marcus. Oh no, I whispered. What now? Thorneck demanded. He says he needs construction crews. He is expanding. The bookings are coming in faster than expected, and he needs to build more guest accommodations. He is requesting a business loan and asking if we know any good contractors who are comfortable working in challenging environments. Thorneck sat down heavily. Reclassify the planet. Approve his early release. Give him whatever permits he needs. Just make this go away. Sir, with respect, this is not going away. Kixera said from her position by the door. I checked the Galactic Net. His video tours have gone viral. He has 2 million views. Species from across 5 sectors are talking about visiting. Some are calling him a visionary. A visionary, Thornick repeated hollowly. We sent him there to die. Yes, sir. And he built a resort instead. 3 days later I sat in my office, updating the official planetary classification files. My cursor hovered over the entry for Krev'nash. Previous classification, Class-12 Deathworld. Survival rate, 0%. Recommended use extreme punishment detail. New classification pending tourism designation. Survival rate, apparently 100% if you are human. Recommended use extreme adventure tourism. I hit save and leaned back in my chair, feeling about 1,000 years old. My communicator chimed one final time. A message from Marcus Webb, now officially a free man and licensed business owner. Hey Zaxlin, just wanted to let you know I got my first official booking. Honeymoon couple just like I hoped. They arrive next week. I am naming the best bungalow after you. The Zaxlin Suite. It has the best view of Mount Spicy. Thanks for everything. Come visit sometime. First stay is free for Galactic Bureau employees. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I opened my personnel file and began drafting my early retirement application. Somewhere on Krev'nash, a human was giving a Mauler 6 named Biscuit a bath while planning expansion projects for his thriving resort business. The galaxy would never be the same. And honestly, I needed a vacation, preferably somewhere boring, somewhere safe, somewhere that was absolutely, definitely not a Class-12 Deathworld. Though I had to admit, the hot springs did look pretty nice. No, I was not going to think that way. I hit send on my retirement application and closed my office for the day. Behind me, my monitor showed one final notification. Marcus Webb had just posted a new video titled Week 4 Update. We are building a spa. Also, I think I am getting married to a visiting diplomat. Long story. I turned off the monitor and walked away. Some things, you just have to let go.